the main direction that we can go. I think, like, yes, we're known now as a non-threatening group of people. We're non-violent, and it's beautiful what we did as a people. But we're still our time frame is very sensitive. So I think in these next 3 years, unless a real change happens in Sudan, the most powerful man in Sudan is still the most dangerous man in Sudan, and they can still come back easily. So we're not at a point where we're going to just like, hey, look what we did, it's amazing. We want to be like, hey, come in and invest, and this is a country that there's room for growth for everyone. How do you feel about that?
I agree very much so, and that's why I'm saying and it's very hard to encourage direct foreign investment while Sudan is still officially on the list of state sponsors of terrorism. It makes it very complicated for many investors and even the World Bank to come in. There's also complications. As you know, the regime kind of kept itself in power by keeping in a lot of subsidies that may not be sustainable in the long term. What happens if the Democratic government tries to cut these back, and people are going to be on the streets, protesting, and it's a dilemma. And of course, the IMF is going to say, you're going to have to do this if you want our help, and it's this dilemma that a lot of developing countries have had to go in. I think so it's very difficult. I don't have the answer. I'm acknowledging that it is a real dilemma. But what I would encourage, I think, again, I talked about earlier in my talk about making an anti-corruption campaign a key. That is to, billions of dollars have been stolen, and we need to expose the elements that have been ripping off the people of Sudan. There needs to be more accountability. There needs to be more transparency. And again, that's something that, again, can be a unifying thing that people of various other political tendencies can come around together on to press those things. I also encourage one thing that's impressed me about the neighborhood committees and other forms of organization during the revolution is that it showed that people can come together and work cooperatively. How about coming together and work cooperatively to form various co-ops and more grassroots development initiatives that I think under authoritarianism, people are kind of say, okay, I think economic development is going to get done, it's going to have to be from the government, or it's going to have to be from some kind of foreign corporation. Well, some of the best models of development in the global South have actually been from the bottom up, from the village level, from the neighborhood level. And I would, I'm no economist, but I would encourage looking at options. I mean, especially those in the diaspora community. It's amazing how a little bit of money can go a long way. In sort of everything micro-lending to other forms of kind of grassroots development initiatives. Starting very basic things like sanitation, or getting micro dams, or solar power, or other projects that could bring electricity to places. I mean, there's so I would not wait for to be wait for the help to come from the outside or from even the government. I would encourage looking at grassroots initiatives, and then we've seen, of course, this is where women come in, and that we've seen, especially in cases in South Asia, other parts of Africa, that women-led development, usually at the village or neighborhood level, is the most successful and most sustainable in terms of meeting the basic needs of the people. And so in encouraging small-scale entrepreneurship by women can be a major vehicle as well.
To talk about the revolution in Sudan. I'm interested in the revolution from two perspectives, a feminist perspective, and you started talking about that. But my look at it is beyond the microfinance and the lower level micro events, looking at the role that women have played and can continue to play, more at the political macro level. Because once the revolutions stop, women are sidelined. So how can, from your understanding of other successful revolutions, how can we maintain the role of women and celebrate it? Because I think women played an important role in the uprising. My other question is, again, what are the principles that we can take to help us navigate the transitional period so that we can remain in a non-violent state and navigate it towards more safety and better governance? Because our history of government here in Sudan is that we spent 3 years doing quite well in a democratic state, and then we get a coup.
Right.
That's been our history since independence. We only had 10 years of democratic rule. How can we navigate this period so we do not repeat the same mistakes of the past? Thank you.
At the government level, or the political party level, it happens at the grassroots level. And that there are that grassroots movements, and especially women, have been effective in challenging the tendency, especially for male politicians, to use there are all these political parties and more democratic-leaning elites who say, "Wow, finally we have our chance to govern. I want to govern." So, "No, I want to govern. No, I want to govern." And you end up the end of the bickering and divisions that the reactionary forces can exploit. I mean, this is what happened in the 1980s and 60s. I mean, that often it was just there's a bickering between the parties and the divisions that created a chaotic situation, which allowed the opening for the military to move in. And I've seen several examples of when that kind of thing has been going on. The people have organized and said, we're not interested in this. Yeah, we may have our favorite, we may have one party we like more than another, but what's important is the country. What's important is democracy. And basically, we saw this in Serbia, where you had 12 different parties fighting each other, so Milosevic was able to continue to rule, and basically Otpor, which is a student-led movement, basically came and got the 12 parties together and says, "Hey, look, we have more support than any one of you. You got to listen to us." And we say, unify behind one candidate, adopt a broad, pro-democracy position, and that's how we can defeat Milosevic. And so I think that you can stop the divisiveness and that between the traditional politicians, the traditional elites, by basically creating a movement that has more support than they do, and by exercising that power to get them to put the nation's interest above their own interest or their own party's interest.
Any more questions? I think Professor Stephen was standing for a long time. So, on behalf of Ahfad University, on behalf of the President of the University, Professor Qasim, we would like to thank Professor Stephen for his concern with the Sudan Revolution and for this very distinguished and open lecture.